Jesus, I love you. Jesus, I love you. Oh my. And you are welcome in. You're welcome in this place. I'm lost without you. Can't do nothing without you. Oh no. And you are welcome in. You're welcome in this place. My heart says yes. My heart says yes to your will, to your way. And you are welcome in. You're welcome in this place.
Greetings. How are you? I am Tracy Everette, your host of MentorMe Memorable Moments.
And I am William Craig III, your co-host.
And we are doing something a little different for physical health. We just brought Jamila Neroy right on up because we have been holding a topic, and we're all busting at the bits.
We've already had a show before the show.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Unfortunately, we didn't tape. But that's okay. Before we get into it, we do want to say welcome to WLVS Radio. That's what we are hosted on, and you're probably watching us at www.listenvisionlive.com or through our own website, which is MentorMe411.com. So we do say welcome to all 135 nations and 50 United States.
All right.
Well, tonight is our physical health segment, and we're going to be talking about for your protection. And it's a very serious subject that we've been tweeting out because you probably thought that it was okay for you to defend yourself if an attacker came up on you. But if you injure that attacker, what the repercussions will be, surprisingly, it could be against you.
That's correct.
So we want to just start off by talking about what's going on out there in social media and actually across the nations too.
Right.
That we know that there are a lot of rapes that are going on and taking place, and that there are young girls now that, as young as 11 years old being gang raped in the United States. I think I read an article where one was 11 years old. She was taken into an abandoned house and gang raped, and when she survived and came out to report it, no one believed her at all. And when it finally got in front of a judge, the comment was, well, she is an 11-year-old, but she looked like a 20-year-old, and therefore her mindset must have been a 20-year-old at the time this rape took place.
Warped.
It is.
That's
very much
warped.
so. Very much so. But we want to talk about a little of what's going on out there. We see it across social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter.
Right.
And as deplorable as it is reality.
Yes, it is. And so we have to arm ourselves.
Yes. But you were sharing a couple of articles that you read as well, something that happened right here.
Yeah, recently, within the last week or so, two young ladies visiting from Mongolia who were here to study found themselves looking for part-time work, went to one of the local malls, is how the story has been reported in the media, and was approached by someone supposedly from their own country, and allegedly they were invited to a home in the Northern Virginia area. They were drugged, they were raped, beaten, and fortunately, when they did they were able to get to the hospital, to the emergency room, and actually report it to the police, give the description as well as where they had been. And my understanding is that the police had actually gone to the residence and began collecting physical evidence to corroborate their stories. But just imagine, so if this plays out to be true, how unfortunate that is that you literally travel thousands of miles to the land of opportunity,
Yes.
only to find yourself being a victim
Yes.
of what someone else perceives to be opportunity, true opportunity, and be taken advantage of.
Right.
And that is just so sad, because that should not happen.
Right. I agree. You had a couple of comments to make as well.
I do.
Something that your son had actually experienced.
Absolutely. A young girl, college student, as a matter of fact, going to UMB, something of Baltimore, Maryland or Baltimore. And she called him one evening, and she didn't sound like herself. She's crying. She had told him that she was going out with some friends. And she calls him, and she's like, help me. And he's like, what do you mean help you? She's like, can't tell you where I am. I don't know how I got here. I just need you to come. So he's trying to ask her, well, what do you see around you? He was able to piece enough things together to know she was in our area. He GPSed himself kind of into that area, where when he gets there, this woman is slumped over in the car, hundreds of people banging on the window trying to get her attention, but she's too afraid to open the door. He finally is able to get her to open the door. There's vomit all over this car. There's sets of keys in this car. This woman is half dressed, and he's trying to ask her, where were you? Where are your friends?
Right.
And she begins to try to tell him that she had been at a particular club. We won't even say the name, though we should be saying the name. And she was invited to dance on a table. So I don't know what kind of club this is, but a bouncer watching her saw her fall. So instead of going over to see if she's okay and then realizing maybe she was too intoxicated, did he call her a taxi? But she had to leave for drunken disturbingness. But he walks her to her vehicle, puts her in a car, gives her her keys, and tells her to call her friends. Now, if anybody's been in the club, we're not thinking about our phones. We're getting our groove on, we're getting our drink on. Long story short, this woman to this day does not know what happened to her. She doesn't know how she got where she was. So a lot of thoughts going through my brain. We're talking about college students. We're thinking maybe they have a buddy system. I know when I haven't hung out in a lot of years, but we had a buddy system. If we went out together, we left together.
Right.
I don't care if you met Don Juan Coolion in that club. He better follow us to your mama's house and then take you from there. But I would be able to tell your mother, I dropped her off at 2 o'clock. For the club to escort this woman out in this condition. You removed her because you thought she was drunk. But it seems as though someone must have put something in her drink. And we're hearing more and more of those stories. I don't know what pervert needs you to be unconscious.
Hello.
Well,
okay,
that's the reality. That's the reality.
What small man that can't walk up and approach you to seek interest in you a normal way has to drug you, but it obviously means that it's someone that means no good intentions.
They exist. And,
crazy.
And again, unfortunately, I witnessed this recently within the last week. Took my daughter to the emergency room, only to witness a family, sister and a gentleman carrying a young lady into the emergency room who was unconscious. They were at a bar, and the doctors were saying, did she have anything other than alcohol? And did she drink too much alcohol? No, only had a couple of drinks, and then all of a sudden she's unconscious, and we believe somebody put something in her drink. And for the 10 some odd hours, well, we were there actually exactly 12 hours, but for the time period that she was there, which was about 10 hours, there were she never came to, she never regained consciousness. The family was frantic. They're talking about, pressing charges. They don't know who to press charges against.
That's right.
But the bottom line is, this brings up another issue. Should there be surveillance cameras at establishments where liquor is sold?
I would think so.
For the protection of all parties.
Absolutely.
How about operational surveillance?
Well,
they're there.
Agreed. And that's just it. So there are a lot of things, and I'm sure this opens up a lot of cans of worms. But at the end of the day, if you can, and we had this talk at the beginning of the year, if you can hold a bartender liable for someone's drunkenness because you continue to allow them to drink and then they go out and they kill themselves or hurt themselves or someone else, then why not then can't a club owner be held liable if there is no form of surveillance to be able to go back and say, here's what happens? And I understand people are going to say, oh, well, it's an invasion of privacy. But if it's your mother, your girlfriend, your wife, who goes out for happy hour with the girls, who's drinking lemonade or orange juice that someone slips something into, because let's not just go out on the limb and say everybody's a drunkard, okay? But is having a glass of water. And we know it can be odorless, colorless.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay. That's right.
Yes. And it's taken advantage of. Wouldn't you want to be able to say, here's the guy walking up to the table and slipping something into? I mean, to me, it just makes sense. So there are a lot of issues here, but at the end of the day, part of the problem, I think we'll get into this as we go into our conversation, part of the problem is that there seems to be a double standard in this country as it relates to crimes that are perpetrated on women.
Absolutely.
And there also seems to be a mentality that it's almost as if we don't want to talk about it when it does happen, and the woman is always the one who's castigated.
Yeah, because we asked for it. We asked for that. Please put something in my drink and take me out to your car and take my clothes off. And, you know.
Exactly.
But that's sad.
It is sad.
Wow.
It is sad. And so the issue becomes, ladies and guys, but you're going to have to be more aware of what's going on around you. You need to be more concerned about the people that you're with, because unfortunately, a lot of times, just like the case of these two young ladies out in Virginia, allegedly, who were approached by someone who should have been a friend.
Absolutely.
Who was someone from their own country who supposedly was helping them. And unfortunately, a lot of times, it's an inside job.
Let's roll back the
Yeah.
lifestyle and the tape, and let's go into the home. Ooh. What kind of lessons are our young girls or our young adults being taught when you go out? Because I remember, raising my son when he was small, 9, 10 years old. I'm talking to him. When you get a little bit older, Derek, this is what you do when you go to parties. You carry your own drink. You don't let anybody buy you a drink. And if you leave that drink on that countertop and go do something and come back, don't you drink that drink. You get another one. So that was the message that I instilled, and to this day he can spit that out.
Absolutely. Because back then it was Mickey's.
Yes, it was.
Slipped me a Mickey.
Yes.
But here's the scary part. Are we so cute? Are we having such a good time that we forget the level of fear, of that we're in a surrounding where we hear it on the news. Someone is parasiting, sitting back and watching.
That's right.
The funnest girl in the crowd that has taken her all eyes off her pocketbook and her drinks to be able to walk up. You've got to distract to walk up, or someone is distracted. So we need to now hang with some folks that don't drink. Somebody be the table watcher. You watch our drinks while we drink.
And I've been in situations like that where there is the designated person.
Yes.
That was me.
Yes.
That was me because I didn't drink. So, I'll get you home. And guess what? You were going home with me.
Yeah, that's another issue we talked about.
She was gone for an hour. And this is what I asked my son to say, where were her friends? Why were they having such a great time that hours went by when no one realized this girl was gone? Where could she have gone?
And unfortunately, I mean, the reality is I've seen that too. I've been in those situations too, where me being a guy on the other end of the spectrum here, meeting girls who came with a group, or meeting girls who came with a girlfriend, and you want to separate them from your friends, even though in my case there was no ill will. But the bottom line is,
that's what you get your
you're trying to get exactly. That's how you prove how good you are. She came with a girlfriend, but she's going home with me. And honestly, there were times where it happened, where I quote unquote scored, because the reality is guess what? There were those women who were out there who was like, okay, girl, we're going together, but whatever happens, happens. It's almost like whatever happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, okay, we leave together, but it doesn't mean we're coming home together. Because the goal is to meet somebody. And so again, it opens one up. So when you talk about the home training piece, I mean, unfortunately, there are people who do get the home training, and then there are those who don't get the home training.
Because there's so many of them raising themselves.
True.
Going to auntie and big girl and in the mother of the hood.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Again, no one's reminding them. This stuff is going on.
Right.
It is.
You know, we're worried about our kids getting into accidents and drinking and driving.
Right.
Your kids are being hurt or lured, sitting in an environment where they just
But
want
Jamila,
to
Their
what we're-
neighborhood.
That's
Their
crazy.
neighborhood.
But Jamila, what we're seeing is that our kids are 40 years old sometimes.
Okay. Yeah.
This is happening to
Yes.
40-year-old women.
Yes.
This is not just the 18, 23, year-old woman. This is the 40-year-old woman, the 35-year-old woman, that
And
this is
she's
happening
not
to.
even desperate.
No.
Per se.
No.
She's just hanging with
She's
the
hanging with
girls.
the
Once a night out, needs a break.
Yes.
But it doesn't have that reminder. It's
Right.
either one too many drinks, we're all having a great time. Because let me tell you, I drink soda. And even in the club, that's like $20. I'm holding that soda. Baby. I'm holding. I might not get nobody to buy me no drink, so I got
Right.
to hold. I take it to the bathroom, cover it with the napkin. I'm nursing this thing.
Yeah.
We need to go back to nursing our drinks and being mindful that someone's out here causing harm.
And the whole thing with,
not cool.
and I'm going there, the whole thing with terrorism, because that's really what we're dealing with here. It's a form of terrorism.
Yeah.
Is that we can't have the mentality that it can't happen to me.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, that's the really the foundation for, and I know when I've talked to my girls about stuff, that arrogance that says, well, that's not going to happen to me. And the bottom line is, you do not know.
Right.
We are those
you
that
do
it's
not
happening
know.
to. And
Right.
guess what? The other thing is, I'm going to go home and not tell nobody.
Well,
I was
Same
about to
young
say
lady.
that. Yes.
I'm angry when I ask him, what was the end of the evening? Now, here's the other piece. Why didn't you wake me up? Well, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. I didn't want to bother you. I said, let me tell you something. Any friend of yours having any issue and you're out there, because it could have. So here's the other piece. You didn't remember what happened to you. You didn't remember who this man was you called. So could you have had a moment of consciousness when you're then telling the police it was him?
Right.
He
Exactly.
did it. Whereas if you
Exactly.
would have come and woke me up, I could say, no, my child left here at 4 o'clock.
Right.
There's no way he could have drug her from a club, took her to a gas
Right.
station,
Okay.
took her
All
clothes
right.
off. You know what I mean?
Right.
But and I'm telling him, as a mom, I have to tell you to protect yourself from even these girls that are out here just flailing and loving life like there's not danger.
Right.
You gotta walk in saying there's danger here.
But you pointed on something that there are those that are drugged and they don't remember what happened to them. And so when they do find out, because they get the dirty looks or the Snickers at school, then they feel ashamed
Right,
and they
sure.
never report it.
Right.
Absolutely.
They don't want to talk about it.
Absolutely.
But they're floating out there on social media. As I read in one girl, that 16-year-old girl in Ohio that we were talking about earlier, how she was gang raped by the football team.
Come on, man.
And it was done at the assistant coach's house.
Yeah.
And when she was passed around from party to party and finally got home, I don't know how, she couldn't remember what had happened, but she knew something had happened. And it wasn't until she saw the pictures floating on social media of her being unconscious and them doing these acts against her that she started speaking up. And during the time that she was speaking up, of course, they want to protect the football team. We don't need this to be messing up our game. You know, we're on our way to the state championship.
Right.
They didn't care a thing about her.
Right.
And so it goes through its court trial. The assistant coach gets arrested and charged, as well as the person who, because they got to use the school system to float these pictures, that person gets arrested as well. But this young girl has attempted suicide 3 times.
Wow.
Thank God she has failed each time.
Yeah, but
she's getting her voice now and realizing that she's fighting back over this.
Right.
And it's happening across the nations. But let me tell you about this, because you brought up an interesting subject too, that they are sometimes 40-plus year olds. I read an article where there was a woman who was abducted and captured and dragged into a house where there were 11 other women killed, and the bodies were still there in the home. And she managed to fight off her attacker and fled the house and went to the police station, reported it, but they didn't believe her.
Wow.
They thought that she was making it up. So they investigated anyway. You know, she showed them the marks and the scars and everything. They came to her house and searched the house and took pictures of the bruises on her body, and it played through the courts, the trials, the investigation, etc., only to find out that there wasn't enough information to really further the investigation. And what they did was they arrested, charged her, sentenced her to death. She is on death row for the deaths of the 11 women that were in the house. Yes.
Wow.
This is twisted.
So the actual rapist is sitting back, happy that someone else caught this
Rapist slash abductor slash murderer.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Wow.
But, you know, we have been tweeting out, and there are a lot of stories like this. We're going to be sharing those in the physical health segment over the next few years, because the summertime is coming in. Party.
And I can feel, I'm going to tell you, this is God's honest truth. The other day when it got warm, I could feel a change in the air.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I could feel, I sensed, and unfortunately, there were some stabbings that took place and some other violent crimes that took place. And I said, wow, we're getting ready to, this is going to be out of control
Yes,
by
it
the
is.
time
It
it's
is.
70
Cabin
on a
fever.
regular basis. It's going to be out of control out here.
About to get unleashed.
It really is, and I can feel it in the air. I can sense it. You know, and God will give us, you know, through His
Yes.
Spirit,
What to
He
pray for.
gives us,
What to
He
intercede
shows us.
for.
And we that are sensitive to the Spirit have to be led by the Spirit to be able, again, and it's so apropos that we're having this conversation now, because I believe that months from now, unfortunately, we'll be able to look back at this segment to see that prophetically, if you will, that we are talking about some things that are going to be very prevalent in the news.
Oh, absolutely. And I know we haven't even talked about it, but we're probably going to it some more. It's happening to young men as
my
well.
goodness.
Absolutely.
Oh, my
Yes,
goodness.
they're reporting it more.
Rapist. I mean, so
Oh,
you know,
yes.
our concern are women, but I would be mortified to know that my son's out championing in tournament and someone is sitting back in the cut saying, yeah.
Yeah. And that's,
Again, it took some one person telling something happened to me. I don't know, you know. And this is a text that I received, and that set an alarm to an investigation that this one person told, but it revealed that more than 20 men had this happen to them. They must not have told anyone.
and that's the thing that was brought out recently, that because of the stigma that is placed again on the victim, victims are afraid
Yes,
to come
they are.
forward to report
Yes,
what
they
has happened to them.
Absolutely.
Now, mind you, there are cases, and I'm going to swing a little bit to the left here, because it's also made news recently. Monica Lewinsky, you remember her?
Yes.
Came out and actually several months ago, she had her first public appearance, and most recently, within the week, she made another appearance, and she talked about cyberbullying, because the fact of the matter is that she's been a victim of cyberbullying because of the affair that she had with former President Bill Clinton.
I can imagine.
And her thing was, as you just said, Tracy, I want my voice back. It's time for me now to actually commandeer my future, as opposed to allowing this indiscretion to make me cower and hide because people look at me the wrong way, or and they look at me and say I'm a tramp, I'm a slut, et cetera, and that, okay, yeah, I did it, I was wrong, I made a mistake, but guess what? I'm 43 years old. It's time for me to move on with my life.
That's right.
And,
That's right.
And to contribute to the world what I have to contribute.
That's right.
And that's a powerful piece as well, because unfortunately, how many of these victims, don't get to that part? You know, they hide behind this and live with it all their lives, however long that may be.
That's right.
Because some of them they decide to either become reclusive, or some, as you say, decide to take their lives, or others just totally lose their minds because they can't handle it, or then others yet now impose this upon others, because as the saying goes, hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And so, we really need to do a better job of taking this so seriously that we get help for the people who who make these claims that they have been victims. Because that is not the first, unfortunately, in most cases, it does not seem to be the very first step. The very first step is to either A, refute them, or B, make them the villain,
Right.
in some sort of way.
And we do have, the girl who cries wolf.
Yes,
Or
we
the
do.
boy who
Yes.
cries wolf.
There
Yes,
are
we
some
do.
girls that are not crying anything except for their sorrows of no one's going to care or listen anyway. They're not going to believe me because last week I had a pair of hot pants on, so I asked for this. Let me just keep this. No, we need to hear it.
You were telling me earlier about a young woman that was dealing with that. It's her attempted suicide, and no one cares, no one loves me, and then all of a sudden she started getting these
Calls
tweets
from other people. And again, I'm just new to social media. My sister says, welcome to
21st century, right?
because I was clandestine. But it wasn't that I was clandestine. It just was an opening that I wasn't comfortable with, social media. But now that I have it, I do sometimes peruse. And I just happened upon this girl. I don't know if it was the look in her eyes that said, read me or listen to me or whatever. And when I hit it, she's a young girl understanding that she went through something very awful to save other people. And so she's giving this, she's crying and she's talking and she's in this camera saying, I didn't understand why I had been getting these calls over the last couple of months, from friends.
Right.
If you don't hear from me tomorrow, I'm already dead. And she says, but I had to kind of look into my own life and say, no, I opened the door. Because it was last year that I did the same thing. And it was by the grace of God I survived. I took everything in my home. I called people who put me on hold. And she said the thing that was most crazy was that all the years it led up to her saying, I don't want to live this life. This life sucks. I don't want to be here. I'm not tripping. I'm over it. Miss me with that. That those last 10 minutes of them trying to save her because all of her organs were shutting down was the fight of her life.
Okay.
She wanted to live so much more than she had ever wanted to live. And her thing was, suicide is not the way.
Right.
But again, for those people in such deep hurt, someone has to be listening.
Right.
Someone has to pick up the phone when they call.
Sure.
Someone has to be able to, who's been there, talk these people off the ledge.
Right.
So, but again, it's on Facebook. It's powerful. Like I had to stop it in the middle because I was choking up.
Wow.
But again, someone saying, no one heard me. No one cared. So who knew what those specifics were that led to that moment?
Right.
But we know that there could be so many different specifics.
Sure.
So hopefully we're getting ready to open up a door.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we're going to be talking about this on the physical health segment for the next couple of segments because I think we need to be their voice if they cannot speak for
Can I
themselves.
say one last thing on this? So here we go. And I heard this earlier today. And for those of you who may be watching us, listening to this, whenever, here's what I want to say to you. Because part of what may go on in your mind is, okay, why did this happen to me? Why did this have to happen?
Right.
And this isn't fair, and agreed, okay? On the surface, yeah, it is not fair. I mean, that's just the reality. Should this happen to anyone? No. Having the understanding that we live in the world that is mixed with both good and bad, here's the reality. Bad things are going to happen to good people.
Right.
Now, that being said, part of what has to happen is not so much the bad thing that happened to you, but how you react to the bad thing that happened to you. And I'm gonna share briefly this quick story of two different people. One, a woman who loses her child and goes into deep depression. And second, a woman who loses her child who then says, how can I help others who are going through the same thing that I am going through? And that's what I want to say to you today, because somewhere deep inside, you got to find that fight that says, this is not just about you, that you understand that this has not just happened to you and that you're all alone. But the fact is that there are other people who are going through what you are going through, and somehow or another, you can help someone
Yes,
else
you can.
to get through
Yes,
this,
you can.
and in turn will help yourself to get through it.
Say it, William.
That's the run
Say
to
it, William.
Goliath.
Yes.
Don't run from
Yes.
your Goliath. Run to your Goliath.
Right.
Your
Exactly.
weakness
Right.
becomes your strength then.
David never would have been recognized as the king that he was had he not had his Goliath.
That's right.
David came to prominence. Yes, the oil flowed when the prophet got to David, but in the reality is that part of what made David great was the fact that David had his battles to fight.
Yes.
And that was part of the song that they sang that made King Saul so upset and so jealous, because they said Saul killed his thousands, but David killed his 10,000s. Well, folks, let me let you know, in order to kill 10,000s, you got to be in some fights.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
Yeah.
But here we go. David was one of the most beloved kings of Israel. And the fact of the matter is that he never would have come to the prominence that he came to had he not gone through the fights. So what fights are you going through today that not only will help you to get to the place where you need
right.
to go, but that can indeed save a nation?
That's right.
Think about it.
That's right. You know what?
That was
You got to
powerful.
love you. If you don't believe that God loves you, at least love yourself, okay?
Yeah.
So I think this is a perfect place for us to take a break, because we do want to hear the story that I've been tweeting out about the woman that suffered some repercussions because she injured her attacker.
Absolutely.
But for right now, let's take a look at Tia in Me.
All right.
Love was the former owner, but quiet is renting our house. He seizes my lips from speaking, but forms a sarcastic smile. Suspense now raised to another your eyebrows. You ask me if there's someone else. I replied yes. Oh yes. You ask me if it's another man, I say no. You laugh and say, is it a woman? I say, surprisingly, you ask me for honey's name, and her name is me, and she loves me more than you'll ever know. And I finally see that loving you and loving me just don't seem to work at all. So patiently, she's waiting on me to tell you that she needs love, and to choose between you two. Boy, you know if I have to choose, I choose. And she told me to tell you you'd never hurt me again. And if you haven't heard, she's a bad chick, even though I have not been. Oh no. Yet and still you try and test me by raising an angry hand. Put it down, put it down. I'm leaving, don't try and stop me. No, I'm late and she is waiting. Yeah, my love for me is too much, so I can't stay. And her name is me, and she loves me more than you'll ever know. I finally see that loving you and loving me just don't seem to work gotta choose between you two. And you know if I have to choose, I choose me. I gotta go with me.
Wow, what a powerful song. Oh my
That was
gosh.
deep.
Yes, yes. And you know, she had a video out, the official video, but I did not want that. I heard her sing this, very simple, very tasteful, and this is the one that I wanted.
The simplicity is just, it's profound in its simplicity.
Yes, yes. And it's a strong message. Choose you. Okay?
And I
me.
you know, while we were off camera, I said, you know, that phrase where she said, loving you and loving me, just I'm gonna work it all. If you could get up in the morning tomorrow and realize that loving him or loving her and loving yourself is not working, and make the changes you need to make, man, you change the rest of your life. Right
That's
there.
Right. That's right.
Right there. Forget the job, forget all the other stuff. Just make up in your mind that, you know what? When I really think about it, loving me and loving that person, it's not going to work.
No. No.
Wow.
Time to let it go. And we
them
know that
and
sometimes
losing you.
letting it go isn't all that easy, but we'll talk about that too in the upcoming segments. But Jamila, you and I had a discussion about something that happened to one of your clients. Absolutely. And we were trying to get the client here, but we couldn't get that train or that transportation straight. But I promise you, we'll get her on this segment or the upcoming segments. We also were looking at Lonnie, the street lawyer, who has a program on Thursdays on WLVS radio, because we wanted to ask him a question about this. But Lonnie's in flight, so we are praying for a safe touchdown because we need you here in the upcoming sessions.
Yes.
But Jamila, talk to us about what happened, what your client shared with you.
Listen, in a minute I'm gonna be crying.
I got a hanky. I got a hanky.
Use my
Between
sleeve.
Tamia and just the remembrance of me, myself, and I, man. Like, so many choices would be better if we could be that, if we could embody that. And, you know, this woman has touched me in a way, I don't really know why she's touched me so much, but I've been on a journey, you know, back to me. And in the process, the Almighty has allowed me to meet powerhouses that I get to see a piece of myself in, that really has just like turned the key to this door that now I'm in it. Wow. We talked about that today. Girl power, yes. Sister power, woman power. We are, or seemingly, the forgotten ones.
Yes.
We are out here battling battles by ourselves. We're being parasited on. We are forgotten, and we got to do something about it. This woman, people don't know, you know, in the salon, my motto is that we are the throne away from home. And while I'm reopening and doing renovations, people come in that I find myself taking 8 hours to do an hour tour. Now, a service. I'm not promoting that, and that's what it's going to be moving forward. But these powerhouses are walking in and blowing my mind, bringing me to a place to think about things I never thought about. I've done this woman's hair probably for a year, and I asked her a question about something one day, and she says, "How come you never asked me my story?" You know, and throughout her visit at the shop, she would always say things like, "Yeah, because I just got out." And I thought, well, maybe I won't ask, got out of what? But, you know, because, you know, she wanted me to know. And on this day, I said, yeah, I've been thinking about, you know, when you say you just got out of what? And this woman tells me a story that blew my mind. Because in the salon, there are times that I leave at night. You know, I'm there 1 o'clock in the morning, sometimes 2, depending upon the services, and I walk out with this carefree, maybe I'm that girl in the club. Life is good. I'm doing my business, and I'm not thinking about fear and what could somebody do to me, because I'm feeling like, well, God done took me through, the brick, the cement. I'm built like that. What's somebody gonna do to me, right? But as I hear this story, I realize that it could have been me. It could have been you. This woman goes out with a crew of friends. She said the beginning of this day, she kind of had the feeling like she should not go out.
Wow.
And sometimes we don't listen to the signs.
True.
Right?
True.
So we either get the rock or we get the brick. She goes on out with these women, and she's approached by a gentleman who does too much. He's harassing, he's trying to steal all her time, and she's telling him, no, I'm just out with my girlfriends, I'm trying to have a good time. He becomes belligerent. He's now being offensive and calling her the B word, and just really being nasty. Clearly something was wrong with him. He couldn't take the rejection. Right. So she tells her girlfriends, you know what, I should have never come out. I'm going to go to the restroom, I'm going to get my things, I love y'all, but I got to go. I can't do this all night long. So of course, as good friends would, they'd say, look, let's not kill this evening, let's go out and have dinner. We'll just go over here and have some dinner, and they go to this restaurant, which was not next door to this club. Okay. They travel, get in their car, and they go into the restaurant, and they're seated, and they begin to give their order. Who would walk through the door but this same gentleman? Now, he's seated somewhere else, so he's causing the public disturbance by calling you how many B's across the restaurant. Wow. She's blown. Like, what have I done to this man? Like, do I know him? Right. Did I used to go with him? Do I owe him $50? And she says to the girls, look, they had just ordered their food. I can't do this. I've got to go. Now, as women, we put our coat on, we grab our pocketbook, we take our keys out. All of us has heard, officer friendly, the police, whoever you talk to, take your keys out before you get to your vehicle.
That's right.
Now they have the new Lexuses that will automatically like disarm as you get close to it, because your remote could be in your pocket. But most of us have our keys in our hand.
That's right.
And so she's leaving. She's probably shaking her head like, where did this man come from? I got to go. And in this thought process, she feels her own body being jerked around, and without thought, this woman swung at this person, who it turned out to be that same guy. Right. The problem for her was that the keys in her hand ended up lodged in his eye. Now, today the keys are different for cars. They're thick. They're long. So just imagine, you just wanted somebody off of you, and you swing without thought, and now you're standing looking at the key in your hand in that person's eye. Now, let's go back a little bit. I used to teach my son how to throw baseball. Okay. And I never could throw good. He could always throw good. He was a baby. He's 5 and he's busting glass, and you're like, well, you've got a great arm. Men have a thing with aim. They know how to slap good, punch good. They're all never missing. Who would know that on this day you're jerking someone away, or you're, repelling them, and you stick them in the eye? So now you're horrified. Yes. It took the management who had talked to this man, friends, to come out, because now it's a screaming thing going on. They called the police. This woman was able to leave this scene, but a report was written. This is a woman who was an executive for a Fortune 500 company. Wow. She has 3 children. And in probably the process of 5 hours, her whole entire life had been changed. Because of this event, this woman had to wait now to see if this victim, because now he's the victim. Yes, he is. Even though he was the aggressor, even though he was, doing too much, she has to now wait and see if he's going to lose his eye. Because that's going to then determine the charges that's going to be brought against her. Wow. This woman was able to go into court, presenting documents, pictures showing the bruising. So even if you were a nice guy and said, hey, baby, no, this man grabbed her up to where it left bruises on her, which the jury was able to see. Right. Interesting piece. Because, see, this is about some other things. In our life, and I've been working really hard on being a lot less aggressive, extending that olive branch, this court proceeding was able to bring back past instances of things that were on her record from situations not related. You're a single mom raising your son raises up, you punch his teeth out. Do we want to punch our kids' teeth out? No, but at the point where we're raising our hands, we're enraged. They were able to bring that back to the table, showing you're basically an aggressive, mean, malicious person. Never dealing with, why was this man's hands on you to begin with? Why was he allowed to stalk and harass you?
Yes.
And then again, you're now informed that you need a lawyer. This woman, a mother of 3, and I'm just going to kind of give the bits and pieces because we're going to bring her here, and I'm telling you, we're going to all need tissues. She's now told, the lawyer tells her, you need $20,000. Well, she's going to jail for a long time. This woman, in the midst of desperation, a place where some of us as women have been, stole from this Fortune 500 company.
Oh, wow.
In the process, that was something else that was brought up in court. You're not only a malicious, off the chain, you're a thief as well. Any of those things could have been the case, but I still didn't hear the part where this gentleman, guy, offender, had got a ticket for even touching someone. The part that really shocked me was, it was said that when you felt like you needed to leave the club, why didn't you call the police? But see, as women out here, 2015, we built like that. Girl, I'm just going to go on home. I ain't calling no popo. I ain't got time to send around writing no reports. I got to get home, Then the question again was, when you were in the restaurant, why didn't you call the police? Well, we don't have it in our brain. I'm going to call the police because you're talking to me too much.
Right.
You won't leave me alone. This man hadn't put his hands on her at that point. But again, that would have made different for her in this situation. This mother, this Fortune 500 employee, executive or whatever, ended up doing 8 years in jail.
Wow.
What were the charges then?
If I'm not mistaken, it was something along the lines of attempted murder.
Oh my gosh.
Attempted murder. This story that she told me then prompted me to ask other questions like, what happened to your children? When this woman cried to me about another woman who had to take care of her child, and I said to her, can you kind of just digest that was your sister's keeper? Because who's taking people's kids nowadays, right? She said, but Jamil, it hurts so much. My daughter plays volleyball worldwide, and I break my neck. I don't have a license. I've been through a lot even coming home. I'm grateful to be home. But I go to my daughter's volleyball games, and I have to watch my daughter. I wasn't a neglectful mother. I didn't leave my child somewhere. This event changed my life to where my children had to be given to someone, and I now watch my daughter, hey, mom, but go to the mom that raised her for everything that she needs. This woman is a beautiful woman. I cannot wait to bring her on this show. Like, your hearts will pour out for her. And I'm not going to say, I'm not here to judge the specifics, but what we do understand is that sometimes you're placed in an ugly situation or to go through something to be of an assistance to other people. In the process, she told me about a group of women who is they call the Goochland Warriors. Because now it wasn't enough that I heard this story. Now I'm digging. What do you mean? Like, oh my God, you were in jail. And the thing she began to tell me about being in jail was a life my brain couldn't even process. We sit, we watch Lifetime, we watch other things, it's TV stuff, but to hear it out of someone's mouth, the things that you do to survive, the fact that you sit and watch the type of treatment that these women are in jail are receiving. These women created a group, which, they're an outpour group. They help each other when they get out of jail. They are the connection between, someone that can take your child when you have to go. The fact that she had to tell her children, I'm going to jail. Her children lost it. They were fighting in a restaurant. She said, I took them out. I'm thinking being in the restaurant would be an easy way. My kids started fighting, because that's hard.
Right.
That's an ugly thing. And again, people do go to jail, but you, Tracy, you're here, you're walking out of here, you get in your car and someone touches you, you defend yourself. And in defending yourself, you hurt someone, and you have to tell your family you're about to do a jail stint for
defending yourself.
Because this could be you or me. So
now she got out 8 years after being incarcerated, but there's a stipulation
she's on probation for like the rest of her life type thing. She pays restitution to this man.
Can you believe that?
Can you imagine the
Can you
justice in
believe
this?
that?
She pays his medical bills.
Wow.
She talked to me about, again, when she says, Jamila, this was an awful, beautiful thing that happened, because it linked me to a group of women that I didn't know existed if this hadn't happened to me. You know, she talks about, you know, these Gucci warriors taking donations and putting money in accounts for these women who are in jail with no commissary.
Yes.
They send letters. She's telling me, Jamila, do you know that a day in jail is like a year in jail? No, I wouldn't know. But I'm glad you told me that, because, again, we just say, oh, they bad people, they in jail, they got what they deserve.
Right.
Every woman, every man in jail are not this monster.
Correct.
We got more monsters sitting in clubs, dropping pills in women's drinks. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, I don't know. This thing sat with me. It stayed with me, because I'm thinking, who am I to live in this world? And again, that ain't even my world. You know what I'm saying? That I never thought about what happens to women in jail.
Right.
Today, that's all I think about, and how I can raise money using my business to support these Gucci warriors. I'm sure once you start one process, you find that there's 5 million Gucci warriors around.
Right.
But if we start somewhere, these women can know, you know, that we're here and that we're hearing their stories. And yes, there are some bad women, but there are some unfortunate women as well.
You mentioned also that some of the conditions are just deplorable, because there was a woman that had a mastectomy and wasn't able to take any
receive the pain medicine that was sent with her back to the hospital, you know, from the hospital, because there's a certain, you know, you're not allowed to have certain pills, certain drugs, certain whatever.
Wow.
But when this woman breaks down with compassion, it wasn't even about her 8 years, it was about what she saw. Excuse me, in these 8 years.
Right.
Women with abscesses so big that their eyes were closed, you know, and you're constantly complaining about this pain, and you're being told you're not on a list, get back on a list. You know, there were so many things she told me that, again, I could sit back and say, is that true?
Right.
You know?
Right.
But
Yeah, where's
they
the
were
ACL
awful.
used
They were
at?
awful. They were things that we as women would say we'd never do to survive, that these women are in here doing to survive.
Right.
And it's unbelievable.
Right.
And again, once you're on the inside, it's very hard to tell anybody on the outside when your mail is being read and checked before it sends out. So something awful could have happened to you. You can't even tell anybody.
Or if nobody comes to visit you.
If you have no visits. Cases where you may have been a result of getting your behind kicked by a CO. You're put in a segment where no one can even find you. You know, there was so much that was shared, and it wasn't her telling on the system. It really was bringing attention to, Jamila, there are forgotten women out here.
That's it.
There are women out here that have had their lives taken away, and I'm blessed that I was given a job. When you see this woman, it will all make sense to you why the specifics don't matter. But there's women that look like me and you that may not have gotten those opportunities. But what people don't know is she's blacker than me and you. You know what I'm saying? So this is not color, but it is color. And it is a story that's like, I don't even care what color you are.
Right.
You know, but her job today, another type of pimping services going on. Well, you can't really, you know, you're not on paper, so, you know, we won't pay you your worth.
Wow.
And you ain't gonna complain.
Right.
So
because
you have someone
she
with,
couldn't get a job when she came out.
You know, we hear this.
Right.
See, our attention has been on, you know, men getting out of jail and not being able with fed this and this, that, and the other thing charges.
Right.
You have an attempted murder, a malicious charge. You've done something so horrible to people. Who wants to hire you?
Right.
You know, on every application, it's asking your business. Have you been in jail? Like, you know, have you committed a crime? Have you been, you know, this
arrested?
Arrested. You know, so this woman was given this opportunity by someone who knew she was more than capable to do the job.
Right.
Oh,
She should probably be back. This is a woman that was making $160,000 a year. If she makes now 60, but you still have that host of information. But who you gonna complain to?
That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
So even, again, I never
Oh
knew
my God, my
apartment
Jesus.
living. It was by the grace of a friend who had a sister that helped her get an apartment. What do you mean she can't get an apartment?
That's
How
right.
is she to live her life
That's right.
beyond this moment? You've punished her. You've taken her children. Listen. There's work to be done.
Well, there is.
There's
There
work to be
is.
done. This woman calls, you know, and she's not down. I've never heard her complain. The tears that fall from her face really are coming, you know, from a face that's smiling.
And it's not about her.
It's not
The
about
tears
her.
that she sheds are
It's
not about her.
She's asking people to
She's
help
got
these other women that are still
Right.
there.
to go
Right.
back. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but
Wow.
again, the family element, you know, how are your children now? How would your children be when you've been taken from their lives for
Right.
8 years and they've relied on other people? It'll never be the same. You know, so she's lost so much in this. And then, you know, what is it called? The parole board. And these boards want to know, you know, are you regretful? Are you remorseful?
Right.
Well, why the hell wouldn't you be?
Would
You know what?
Would you be?
Basically,
Oh, yes.
when you took my baby, I regretted that. I was remorseful of that. When you know, I can't get a job now. I got to live with people, you know, or men or whoever, because I can't even get an apartment. I'm now a part of society, and I'm not a part of society.
Right.
And that's not even what they want her to be regretful and
Right.
remorseful about.
Correct.
The incident.
Right.
Next time I'll call the police, and we'll talk about that some in these slides that we'll be
Yes, we
looking
will.
at. That can be life-changing, life-saving, and changing. And the uncomfortableness for me, if that's a word, was after hearing her story and then doing these slides, because I want to say to women, look great, be cute, do whatever. Hair on fleek, shoes on fleek. Be mindful.
Yes.
You need to be able to get that attacker's hand off of you quick as a month. You know what I mean? Like, be cute as you want to be.
Right.
But cute
But know
girls
how to
are
defend.
ending up in people's bathrooms, basements, homes.
Yes.
You know, they're not making it home sometimes. So we need to be cute and protected.
Yes.
Definitely.
That's
right.
what this, for me, is about. So,
That's right. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I know
Powerful.
we're coming into the top of the
Wow.
hour.
Yeah.
Ooh, we've got a
Time
lot to
flies.
talk about. And like
Yeah.
Jamila said, we have a lot of work to do because it's not about us. I think what you said was so appropriate.
Yes.
And then you just chimed in and brought it all together. Things happen to good people. Bad things do happen to good people.
Yeah.
And it's for a reason. And we may not like walking down that road,
Right.
but it's the call. It's the
Right.
call.
Yeah.
Will we
The
respond
destiny
to
call.
the call? Yes,
Destiny
because
call.
I can see she's a Fortune 500 worker. She's got that in her background. Just to be able to change that mindset and to show her that she can now create her own business, do her own thing, and not have to worry about hiding.
You know, it's
under
funny
the
you
table.
say that. I saw, and I'm going to bring this up. I saw Martha Stewart on someone's show recently,
Right.
and I'm looking at this convicted felon. Okay, Martha Stewart, convicted felon.
Yes.
Served jail time.
Yes.
But here we go. Martha has gone on to another level.
Yes, she
with-
has. And we don't even remember the jail
with
time.
her business.
Right.
And I'm saying to myself, and it struck me, it's just odd. It struck me that, wow, you know, there are a lot of people out here who have that background who have said, you know what? I'm not going to be able to function, quote unquote, within the
Right.
system. So I'm just going to make my own opportunity
And
Do
this-
my own
and go
thing.
for it.
You know, this
Yes.
is what I say to her, and she has this very humble thing that says, no, Jamila, you know, you're so strong. And I'm saying to her, this story has made me feel weak, but together we're going to be strong.
Yes.
Right.
Because, you know, you ran a Fortune 500 company,
Hello.
boo-boo.
Yeah, we got plans for you.
Here's my business plan. We're going to be laughing
Right.
back in
That's
their
right.
faces. We're going
Right.
to make it easy
That's
to pay
right.
restitution
Right.
to this creep.
Right.
But this woman is
Fine.
humble.
Right.
Wow.
Fine. We'll write that check. We'll
Wow.
write that check because of
Yes.
all the other checks that we're going to be able to write
Absolutely.
to help
Absolutely.
people who are victims.
We got to wrap it up. I'm so
Yes.
sorry. We have like 20 seconds to
no,
sign
no.
off.
We'll pay extra. We'll pay extra.
But you know what? Between now and then, we want you to be safe,
safe,
be
be
smart,
smart,
and
and
be
be
healthy.
healthy.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.